very fortunate to have them, and I thank them for coming tonight. I just wanted to, I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I wanted to tell you really quick about the first time I met Tisha and the last time that I saw Tisha. For those of you that do not know, Center for the Arts was created for one thing, and you may think, duh, to be an art school, and you would be wrong. Center for the Arts was created to create a space where people, regardless of race, regardless of their income, regardless of the schools that they go to, regardless of where they're from, or anything else, that they can come and they can be who they are, who God made them to be, and they can do that with confidence. Center for the Arts is a safe place. If you talk to any of our kids, they'll tell you that we will love them through lots of things. We will love them. They will make mistakes. We will be their home. We will be their family. But there's only one thing at Center for the Arts that you can get kicked out of Center for the Arts for. And my kids that are here, what is that? Bullying. We are a bully-free zone. We've been a bully-free zone for 10 years. It's a real simple concept here. If you bully, that does not mean push, shove. That means even, and I don't see any of my itty-bitties around here, but they know that means even the bullying face, which looks like this. That face can get you kicked out of Center for the Arts. Because bullying hurts. It hurts a lot. And in this place, we don't do it. And even if we love you and you've been with us for a long, long time, if you hurt someone else, if you hurt a friend, if you do that, then you're asked to leave and to never, ever return. Because I can't promise what school's going to be like the next day to my kids here. I can't promise what their home's going to be like. But I can promise them that when they are at Center for the Arts, that they are going to be loved, and that every time they come in, they're going to leave feeling better about themselves than whenever they got here. One of the things that we do is we talk, our best friends, Center for the Arts' best friends in the whole world, or TFAs, Teach for America. We connect with a lot of the teachers in the schools, but we specifically connect with Teach for America, and we ask them and the rest of the teachers, hey, if you have a kid in your class that's slipping through the cracks, if you have a kid that maybe they tap dance on the way to the pencil sharpener, or they keep drawing on the desk, or maybe it looks like they're not good at anything. We want them. We need them. And we'll figure out how to pay for it. We'll figure out what to do if they can't make it. But we need them here. And whenever we met with the TFAs, we got many names. And it's not often that we get one name over and over and over again. But every teacher that had ever come in contact with Tisha Middlebrook came and said, oh my gosh, this child is so talented. In the words of one of her good friends here, that girl drips with talent. That's right, that's what Tisha was. She was so talented. I will never forget when Tarsha, her mother, and her came in. And they were sitting there, and there was the piano in the corner, and she was signing up, filling out the paperwork, and Tarsha spotted the piano, and she said, Tisha, go play the piano. Go show them what you can do. And she said, Mom, stop. And she said, no, go show them. So Tisha went over there and she played the piano, which was amazing. I'm like, how long have you had lessons? She's like, never. Oh, really? How'd you teach? I just taught myself that. Wow. And then Tarsha looked over, she looked around, and she saw some paper and a pencil laying on the table, and she said, Tisha, go get that paper and pencil, draw them a picture. Show them how good you can draw. And Tisha was like, Mom, stop. And I can say in 10 years, I have never seen a parent that was more supportive and the biggest champion of her child. Tisha was 80-something pounds and 4'11", and let me tell you something. If Tisha wanted to play basketball, Tarsha said Tisha could play basketball. That was just the way it was. She was an inspiration, and we lost her. Tisha lost her mom in this past year. Tisha began coming to Center for the Arts that September of 2009, and she did what most kids do. They come to their class for about the first 2 weeks, and then they hear the rumor that you don't have to have a class to stay at Center for the Arts. So Tisha began hanging out daily. She would come right after school 3-4 days a week, and she would just hang out. She would just be here. so many people would walk in that knew Tisha from school or from other places, and they would say, "Oh, I thought that was Tisha Middlebrook." And I said, "Well, it is." They're like, "Wow." Tisha was open here. She laughed. She was a leader. Tisha was loved. There's descriptions of her that I've heard about being quiet and stayed in her bubble. Our joke with Tisha here was she was always in our bubble. She came in the office, I would have a do not disturb sign. She would laugh and say, "That doesn't mean me." She would walk in, pull up a chair right next to me. Center for the Arts will never be the same. We were created so that these kind of things don't happen. This was our worst nightmare, as I'm sure for most of you, and it was shocking. I just met with a group of teens, just doing some impromptu grief counseling just a while ago, and also last night. And I think we can all agree on one feeling. We listed all these words and feelings that we felt, and one of the first ones that comes up is guilt. What could I have done? I saw Tisha Thursday night at 8 o'clock. She was happy when she left here. And just like we told the kids, that guilt is real. That guilt is a normal feeling, but it doesn't make it right. Tonight, though, we're here to talk about the Tisha that made us laugh. We're here to talk about how talented she was and how amazing. And I think my last conversation with Tisha is a great representation of Tisha. She came into the office and she said, "Miss Tiffany, can I have some cereal? There's some cereal out there." And there's random food around Center for the Arts. Special thanks to Stevie Ray's. They give us all their buffet every day. Little Debbie man drops off the Little Debbies, and he came one time and he said, "Now you only have 2 weeks for these Little Debbies to get eaten, okay? Because then they're going to expire." And we just laughed. We're like, "Yeah, dude, that's not going to make it like past this afternoon." So there's always food around Center for the Arts. The rule is, if it's yours, you got to put your name on it and chain it. Otherwise, my babies can eat it if they want to eat it. So I said, "Tisha, you know you can have some cereal?" She said, "But," she got to the door and I said, "But I don't have any milk." And she went, "Oh." Well, someone else said, "I have some milk in the refrigerator, you can use it." And she said, "Okay, where do I get a bowl?" I said, "I don't have a bowl." So she walked over to the desk, and if you know Tisha, she never said anything ugly or negative. She walked over to the desk and she said, "Miss Tiffany, I'm going to say something to you that might hurt your feelings. And it's racist." I was like, "Yeah, right." Like, what? I said, "Tisha, what are you going to tell me that's racist? I have an 18-year-old African-American son. I have a 9-year-old Asian daughter. I have a pale one that falls right in between. I mean, we are the world. We're the rainbow here. What are you going to say to me that's racist?" And she said, "Miss Tiffany, just going to tell you, you are more black than most black people I know." Little did Tisha know, she had just made my day. I was like, "Oh, this is so great. I've wanted to hear this all my life. This is wonderful." She started laughing, and I said, "Why do you say that?" And she said, "Well, because, Miss Tiffany, I've been here, I've been to your house." She said, "You know, black people, they never have two things that match. And Miss Tiffany, you never have two things that match." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "When you have cereal, you don't have no milk. I was at your house, you had peanut butter, you didn't have any jelly. And your kids, they are always looking for their other shoe." And someone in there said, you don't know her family, you don't know." And my last words to Tisha were this. I looked at that person and I said, "Yes, she does. Tisha's in my family." And she said, "Yep." And she hugged me. She walked out the door, she walked to the table, she met one of our parent volunteers who put her arm around her, made a joke, because no one walks out of Center for the Arts without us seeing them get into a vehicle, even if they're driving that vehicle. And they always laugh because they're like, "Miss Tiffany, I'm 17, I can walk to my car." Miss Monique put her arm around her, and Tisha was laughing as she got in the car that night. I don't know what happened after that. I'm not really sure. I've spent a lot of time trying to think of what Tisha would want me to say. And there's just 3 things, and I close with this before I let our people go on. Number 1, Tisha would tell you to create. These are her words. I have lots of letters and writings of Tisha's. She said, draw something, dance somehow, play an instrument. It doesn't matter which one. Write a story. But just create. Tisha shared her feelings in amazing ways, and she created. Second, Tisha would say, be kind. Tisha many times told us how scared she was to go to school the next day. And we would cry with her. We would talk with her. And whenever I would say, Tisha, tell me who it is. Tell me what they're doing. Tell me. She would say to me more than once, she would say, Miss Tiffany, you never know what's going on in their home. You never know what makes them do that. She put me in my place real quick. Tisha would tell you to be kind, even when you don't feel like being kind. I know that Tisha was bullied. But you know what? If I knew tonight who those people were, I would beg them to come to Center for the Arts. Because that's the third thing that Tisha would want. She agreed that everyone needs a safe place. And we want them here. And we need them here. And in her words again, she said, maybe nobody ever showed them how to love. Maybe no one ever loved them. I can promise you that if you come to the center, you will be loved. Loved to the point that you will tell us to back out of your space bubble. Last thing, one of our kids came to us, Tisha was like my child, she's like their brother and sister. Came to me, I called him Devontae, and you'll hear from him later on. He's the first person that I called. He had lost his mom also, the year before Tisha's, and they had bonded through that. He that night said, Miss Tiffany, we have to do something. We have to do something to make this stop. And I ask you, if you don't hear anything else tonight, I want you to hear what Devontae is going to tell you. Because things are going to change. Things are going to change around here, guys. They are. Because we can't let this happen again. And we're going to make sure, and we're going to let everybody know, and I need all of you to promise that you're going to tell one person that they can come here and they can be safe. I'm not asking for money. I'm not telling you that they have to pay anything. Tisha learned you don't have to take a class here to be here. In a little while, we're going to tell you about Tisha's place. And I need you guys to support it. I need you guys to help us out so that things can be different. Because this should not have happened. I'm going to ask Kathy Johnson. When I was looking through Tisha's drawings and going through some stuff, she had a picture. And it was a picture of someone being bullied. And Tisha drew anime characters, and she had an anime Tisha. And she was saying, please don't, the anime Tisha. And there were angels around, but there was one person in the picture. And if you look at Tisha's anime close enough, if you were close to her, you may just find yourself in one of them. Because she drew people, and that person was Kathy.